Hello, everybody. Welcome to
Hi,
Dice Jailers. I'm Jordan,
I'm Bjorn.
and if you notice, we're on different sides today, because it makes my life easier with my computer. Anyway, this week we are at end, the end, which is
Yeah,
weird,
I
of
know.
our list of all the different 5th edition classes, and
And
we are
classic
ending
number
with the
14.
we're ending with the unofficial but still kind of official
Yeah,
Bloodhunters.
yeah. It's
Uh,
it's unofficial content, but it may as well be official. It's
yeah,
it's been sussed out pretty well. It's on D&D Beyond. You can build them. It's fairly balanced. It's gone through
yeah.
revisions.
And pretty much anything Mercer made is just considered to be official.
I mean, yeah, the dude's been creating stuff for so long. He's kind of gotten really good at it.
Just a little bit.
Plus, when you're friends with people like, Chris Perkins, you can have the
Right.
end all be all of fifth edition. Be like, hey, could you look at this for me? So it's
That's
it's
just,
not like, yeah, his friends who proofread are a little more elite than my friends who proofread.
just a bit. But before we get into talking about Blood Hunters and spending half an episode just talking about Matthew Mercer,
Which
um,
may happen.
yeah, I mean, eh, who knows?
No.
It's us. Uh, Bjorn, do you have any announcements to make?
Yeah. So the whole dinner theater thing I have been doing that has started back up. That has been awesome. Have another show this Saturday that I will be co-hosting, which is basically I'm the stage manager
Mhm.
for it. Which it's a lot of work before the show starts. It's a lot of work after the show ends, and during the show, ideally, I have nothing to do. If I have something to do, something went wrong. So we're hoping I have very little to do on Saturday, and starting next month, we have the Seattle location. Our Bellevue location is opening back up, which
Oh,
means
cool.
I will be performing almost every Saturday, probably for a few months going forward, which is great.
Get that money, baby.
It's exciting. And I think I've selected our one shot for not this coming weekend, but
Yeah.
next weekend. I'll give more information about what it is next week. See that
Mm-hmm.
little teaser? Got to tease them, make them come
Yeah.
back.
Get
But
him back. Get him
yeah,
hooked.
yeah, yeah. No, it'll be a fun one. It'll go. I thought the last one went very smooth. I imagine the same success with this,
It'll be
and
the same success with slightly different people,
exactly,
which
and
I've
hopefully,
almost finished corralling the cast, so to speak.
yes. And yeah, the only other exciting thing is I finally found a place where I can go get a slight haircut. This has gotten a little longer than I want it. It's down on my shoulders. We just want a little bit, but I found a place that they have a stylist that specializes in long men's hair, which most places where they're like, yeah, we do men's hair. I go, long hair? And I go,
No.
we can. I go, that's not the answer I want.
That's never the answer you want
No,
with your
no.
hair.
I want, yes, I specifically work with that. So
Yeah.
yes, I'm very excited to get my hair cut and styled because I haven't had a fucking haircut in over a year.
That's oof. It's rough, bud.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna get a little shape. We're gonna get a little trim, but and that'll be before our one shot. I'm gonna get done the same day.
Oh,
So I will
I
be,
should
yeah, I'm gonna get fresh and styled for that.
I guess I'll spend that day earlier twisting my hair again cuz I
There you go.
can't be shown up.
I mean, you will be.
Okay. Okay, Bjorn. Get
What
your
about you?
get your
You're not
curls
going
out of here.
outside getting your balls.
But no, things are good. Yesterday was a friend of mine's birthday. Had some fun distance fun there, and today is my nephew's birthday. One of them. So shout out to my dude. I would say his actual name, but privacy of a child,
Yeah.
and this being on the internet and all.
Yep.
But I love you, bud.
Happy birthday, little Zimmenhofer.
That's we're not calling him Zimmenhofer. That's not happening.
I'm throwing out there.
I'm not. No, that's zero out of zero for that one.
Alrighty. Well, I'll see what
But
other
yeah,
names I can come up with.
that's that it's just been it's just kind of been birthday week, uh, and then like I recorded another audition, but it's a random out there video audition, so we'll see if
Sure.
anything comes from it.
Yeah,
Uh,
just film the thing, send it off, move along.
yep, that's pretty much all to do. Uh, yeah, other than that, it's still just a waiting game.
Yeah, everything is.
Yeah,
Everything.
and trying to find ways to spend my time, besides rewatching the same shows.
The
Oh,
struggle's real on that.
like the Way of the House Husband. I'm gonna nerd out for. I know we're supposed to be talking about Blood Hunters, but yo, so it's a manga that I've been reading for a while, and they just finally dropped a season of it as an anime on Netflix, and it's still just as funny. I was so worried because it's dubbed in English, and I'm always worried when anime get dubbed because sometimes it's not good. And the voice actor, I hadn't ever heard of the person when I like looked him up and all that, but
Yeah.
exactly the voice I imagined when I read
Nice.
the manga, so it's good. Quality.
Well,
Quality.
the difficult thing there too when they do dub it is just how much can get lost in translation because
Mm-hmm.
certain so you have certain words that don't exist one language to the other, or you may
Yeah.
have multiple words meaning the same thing. So it gets
Yeah.
tricky. It's
And
tricky.
it's wild. It's wild when you have things that are in one language, so to speak, and you shift it to another, and things get interesting.
Yes, yes, they do.
Much like the Blood Hunter being a Pathfinder
Yeah,
class in fifth edition.
yeah. There's your segue, y'all. Um, so out the gate, there are some things about the Blood Hunter that are going to jump out and look very familiar to people.
Mm-hmm.
This is primarily a martial class.
Yep.
You have a D10 hit die, and a lot of things about it I think are going to remind people of the Ranger.
Yep. Oh yes, very yes.
You can focus in either strength or dex. I think the Blood Hunter lends itself a little better to people who want to play strength builds than the Ranger
Yes.
does, just because so many Ranger abilities I really feel like are enhanced by a high dexterity.
Yep.
You can play a Ranger with a high strength. I don't think you're going to have fun.
Yeah. I mean, until the day that they officially add in rules for composite bows
Yeah.
in fifth edition, you're not gonna care about strength as an archer.
And frankly, I kind of hope they never do. Only
I
because
I agree.
when I played in a very brief sidebar, I played in Descent into Avernus, and right before it, we had played Waterdeep Dragon Heist, and
Mm-hmm.
Zaraj the Hunter has a composite bow, and we killed him, and my barbarian took his bow, which
That's
meant,
terrifying.
yeah, I was doing 2d6 plus strength at range with my barbarian. My barbarian, because I had a belt of giant strength, had a 25 strength.
Yeah, that nope.
So it I won't lie, it was a little broken at times
Yeah.
where nothing could get away from my barbarian. So I love
But
strength characters. I hope composite bows never make it into fifth
yeah.
edition unless there's a strength cap on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a +1 composite bow. You have to have this
Yeah.
much strength, and it only gives you a
Well,
+1
and
on
that's
it.
that's how it has been done in other editions
Yeah.
and other systems is
So
that composite bows have a rating like actual bows have a draw strength, but
yeah.
blood hunters.
But yeah, I think you can play a strength-based Blood Hunter and have a good time, which
Oh, yeah.
that appeals to me. Not only in liking strength-based martial classes, but I like the flexibility of it. This class, I mean, you're a Witcher. It's based off of Geralt of Rivia.
Oh yeah.
Mercer has talked about this. That was the inspiration of it, and the first iteration of it, your primary was either strength or dex, and your secondary was wisdom. And then it
Yes.
went under revisions, and I was
And
like,
now
"Oh,
it's
I
an
see,"
intelligence class.
which I like so much better because
Mm-hmm.
as a wisdom class, I was going, "What separates you from the ranger?" But as an intelligence class now, it did feel like, and of The Witcher, I've watched the Netflix show, I've played Witcher 3, one of the greatest games I've
Mm-hmm.
ever played, but I loved how intelligent Geralt is.
Yes.
That okay, you're finding clues about what killed this person, and he's doing his research, and he's going, oh, it's this kind of monster. And then you go into your bestiary, and if you've researched that monster enough, you can find what they're weak
Yeah,
against. So you go battle them, you
and
prep yourself
there's
properly.
yeah, and there's a little of the feel of that with Bloodhunter. I mean, Hunter
Yes.
is in the name, and like you kind of get your your planning. It becomes important with your
Yes.
Bloodhunter because, and not just in like planning for your character and planning your character's future. Excuse me. Ah, but also uh, planning how you're going to fight and which blood maledict you're going to use, as well as if you're going to choose to amplify it.
Yeah.
Because you only have, depending on the level, you only have like maybe one use of it that day.
Yeah, the blood hunter class, I think it's very cool. It is not for someone who wants a simple class to play.
That is very correct.
There are a lot of moving parts to this, but if you really get into it and you really enjoy that, like this could be a very detective-y type character.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of campaign settings I can see it fitting in very well, where it's like you're the one they call when there's a problem. You
Right.
show up to hunt this thing. If you're playing Curse of Strahd, you could be a vampire hunter. Super simple. If you're playing, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, you could just make it that about, pick a thing here, and you're just a merc for hire for that.
Mm-hmm.
Descent into Avernus, Demon Hunter.
Yep.
Super
Absolutely.
easy. Yeah, like so there are a lot
It's
of options for what you can do for your background,
yeah.
and it's like I said, it is a. I know I keep using the word like interesting, but it is. It is a super interesting class.
Well, and
And
it's
that
because so many of the functions are so different from a lot of the other classes.
right.
Because the thing that blood hunters get with their blood maledict and their blood curse is that like one, it's the blood hunter's ability, and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of them, much like with warlock invocations.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot to choose from.
the difference is that you can choose to use it, or you can choose to damage yourself and amplify it rather
Which
than it taking a spell slot.
yeah.
You literally draw your blade across your forearm, and you do blood magic to make it stronger.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean looking over the class features, all right. D10 hit die, awesome. You have hit
Hmm.
points. This is definitely a class where as I always say, con is not a dump stat. It is super not a dump stat here. You
Yeah.
need hit points for when you use your blood maledict. Because if
Plus
you
you're
inhibit
gonna
that,
be yeah.
you're taking damage. You got to have the hit points to survive that.
Hmm. You've
Uh,
gotta you've gotta not do a thing where you damage yourself so hard that you knock yourself unconscious in front of a villain.
and then get killed because yeah, it's whoo boy. Um, proficiencies are I think good here. You get light and medium armor. You
Hmm.
get shields. You're proficient in all weapons.
Yeah.
Your alchemist supplies is your tools. Again, tools are really hit or miss whether you get to use them. But
Hmm.
if you're creative, that could be fun. And again, here's where I really get excited about them. Saving throws. You get dexterity and intelligence for your saving throws.
Hmm.
Again, this is why I'm also going to go a strength build for how I play. I'm
Yeah.
going to have bonuses to my strength, my dex, and my intelligence for saving throws. Strength and dex won't be off the charts, but I'll have a bonus in both of them.
Hmm.
That's nice.
Yeah, and it's so surprising
Yeah.
just to get because like even the other classes that we see that have like strength or dex as a primary stat, usually it's a very very simple choice of like, oh yeah, the one I get the saving throw in is the strength or the dex that I'm going with,
Yeah.
because using the other would be kind of ridiculous. But in this one it's like, no, grab your strength, boy, but also be ready to dodge a thing.
Yeah. And that's not to say if somebody told me, oh, I'm going to do this Dexy Blood Hunter, I'm like, you
Mm-hmm.
can totally do that. The
Dope. Grab a scimitar, baby.
yeah, the build is right there. Um, Again, just for how I play, I love the Geralt of Rivia mindset. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
nope, give me a two-handed greatsword, give me some, medium armor, and I'll go out there and I'll hunt some shit.
Yep. So let's get into uh let's get into some of these blood maledicts. Because there are a lot of them, and some of them are cool. I think because there are only four subclasses, so we're gonna be able
Yeah,
to go through all of them. But I think we should spend a little, we should show a little love to the blood maledicts because
yeah,
they are the thing of this class.
and
The blood curses.
some of them are really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I like one of my favorite ones. It actually it's the first one listed, the Blood Curse of the Anxious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's not huge what it does. Till the end of your next turn, all creatures would have advantage, specifically on intimidation checks directed at this creature. And if you amplify it, that means the next Wisdom saving throw it makes would have disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at the amplification part of it. I think of how useful this could be in social settings. Blood
I
Curse of the
feel that.
Ancient, and you let your party face make an intimidation check when you need to. It's interesting, and it has a cool use there. It's one of my favorites of all of them because very rarely do you see things where it amplifies something for a social situation. Usually it's
Yeah.
just, oh, you help yourself, like a College of Eloquence bard basically having reliable talent for
Yeah.
their face skills. But this is you're like a hype man for your intimidating face where
You
you
really
help
are.
them, yeah, you help them be more intimidating. And I love that. I think it's cool.
See, the one that I really dig, and that's it's mostly off of remembering that like Bloodhunter's a Witcher. It is
Yep.
that is the blood curse of exposure because
Yes.
it gives you that little bit of temporary either it gives an opponent vulnerability to a damage type, which can be huge,
Yep.
or also your that target just loses its invulnerability to the damage type if you amplify that
Yeah.
the blood curse of exposure, which can be huge if you have like a warlock on the team and you're fighting helmed horror.
Yeah. And another place where it can be really useful, you think about all the monsters that have either resistance or invulnerability to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non magical weapons.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you have a blood hunter on your party and you have the blood curse of exposure, now you can heighten that and be like, okay, guys, for one round. Actually, I'm sorry, to the end of the turn. It's
Yeah.
not end of the round. But so you can be like, okay, I can hurt this thing, even if I don't have a
Mm-hmm.
magical weapon. And it's interesting. And I love it.
And it's just it gives me just those big Witcher vibes because
Yeah,
it's like, all right, I know your invulnerability, and I say no.
exactly. I'm going to take that away uh, right now.
Yeah,
Blood Curse of the Eyeless, of course, that one's fun. You can
yeah,
roll your Hemocraft die, subtract that number from that creature's attack roll. Very similar to a bard's cutting words.
yes.
And if you amplify it, you can put that to all of its attack rolls. Which,
Which
if you're facing something that gets a whole crap load of attacks, you can be like, you know what? Let's make it a little harder for you to hit me.
it's you know what for just this time around, Hydra, get some blood in your face,
Yes, yes,
and and that's another one of the things for the Blood Hunter that it really hits me as such a cool class, and I hope it gets fiddled with a little more and made proper official.
yeah. Me too.
Because just the role playing elements to it and the descriptive elements to when you're using your abilities, because it's blood magic. Blood
Yeah,
magic is terrifying and wild and so cool.
and I would love to see it make its way into fifth edition. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and blood magic. This is something that Mercer is a big fan of. there
Hmm.
is a there's an unofficial fifth edition book by Green Dragon Press, the Tal'Dorei
Yeah.
campaign guide, and it has some blood magic stuff in it.
Hmm.
I believe it's a cleric domain. I think it's the blood domain cleric
Yes.
is in there. And again, it just shows he loves that blood magic stuff, and I'd love to see it come in. Um, I would love to see because it's sort of like where the school of necromancy and even the death domain cleric to me both fall a little short of that character that's maybe skirting the edge of morality of how they're
Yeah.
doing things. I understand you can do that with your role play with your character. I would love to see a build that is straight up like this character is skirting morality by
Yeah.
what they do because it can be interesting when you have that party composition where it's like, you know what, maybe this person doesn't do things the way we would all like. Maybe this person makes our cleric or our paladin very uneasy, but we need them. And let's
Because
face
they
it,
get results.
yeah, you're like what they do works. And I would love to see that opportunity for a character be
Yeah.
built up.
It's kind of like it's like having the rogue that that specializes in intimidation and is the torturer.
Yeah, I
Like, but to make it mechanically a thing
yeah.
would be delightful.
Because yeah, I think of all the classes, the assassin to me comes the closest, and that's only because they're called an assassin. Where it's
Right.
like they're an assassin. They're clearly a contract killer. So if you have that person in your party, there's no question about what they do.
Yeah.
And
Like,
you know,
this is my job.
yeah, I'm never one for inter-party conflict just because I think it takes away from the story and the natural progression of the game. You
And
know,
it often does.
yeah, have everybody be on the same page for the kind of game you're playing, but have that character that maybe makes some people a little uneasy. And so they have to question whether or not they want to do things a certain way. And if you are playing that character who, skirts the rules, does things their own way, accept the times when the party overrules you and goes, you know what? We're not choosing violence today. We're doing
Hmm.
this. Simply voice your displeasure and just tell your fellow players, okay, well, I'll be here when this doesn't work.
Yep.
When this doesn't work,
And that's a thing that's huge for blood magic, which is
yeah,
why I wish the Bloodhunter could get its proper revamp and its official time in the sun.
yeah,
Although you never want to be in the sun as a blood hunter
no,
because you want to be in the darkness
yeah,
because darkness.
yeah, you're edgy, man. You're edgy.
Speaking
Go,
of
go
being
back,
edgy,
go back to the blood curses. Probably my favorite one for combat, and it's. I mean, if you don't love this one, I don't understand you. Blood Curse of the Marked.
yep, it's
Bonus action, mark a creature. When you deal right damage, you get to add a Hemiocraft die.
yep
Awesome. Oh, and if you amplify it, the next attack roll
is that
has advantage.
advantage.
Yeah, which that's awesome. So you're like, okay, I'm gonna do some damage to myself here, but I have advantage on you now, sucker. And when
It's
it hits, it is gonna sting.
it is.
And
I'm going to hurt me, but I'm gonna hurt you worse.
yeah, and that's an intimidating as fuck character right there. Of
Yeah.
like, oh no, I'll hurt. I'm gonna hurt you. It'll hurt me. I don't care.
Mm-hmm. It's just the like, all right, and you are going to suffer. Just a character with I just always also I imagine my blood hunters with great swords
Oh yeah,
because it's Geralt.
it's Geralt of Rivia. It really is. Like, I, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, someone's like, oh no, I'm gonna use like scimitars and all this. I'm like, hey, Mollymawk Tea Leaf was so cool. I love this character.
But note was
Yeah, that was unfortunate. That was unfortunate.
spoiler, he blood hunted himself.
Yeah, still not fully over that. Not gonna lie, still not
Yeah.
fully over it. But no, if I'm playing one, they're wielding a great sword. There's just no question about this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna full Geralt of Rivia this thing,
Yeah.
and it's I'll probably use the gravelly voice too. Like I just have to.
Yeah.
And if someone's like, "This is a Geralt ripoff, isn't it?" I'll go, "Yeah,
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
oh yeah, 100%,
See,
100%, and I won't even feel bad about it.
no, there's nothing wrong with doing that
No,
because it's a great character.
yeah,
Speaking
uh,
of,
yeah.
since we're gonna talk about all of them, which of the subclasses do you think is most Geralty?
Honestly, I think it's Order of the Mutant
I agree.
because it has all the mutagens and stuff, and that was part of the Witcher games was having
Mm-hmm.
all those like augmentations and experimentation. Like to me, it is Order of the Mutant.
Yep. And see, for me with Bloodhunters and Order of the Mutant, part of the reason why I think Order of the Mutant is really the only subclass that Mercer made is because
It's
the
Geralt.
class well, yes, but the class itself has proficiency in alchemist tools.
Yeah.
Guess what's one of the first things that you get from being an Order of the Mutant? You get alchemical formulas.
Yes, you do, and it's great, and you can do some really cool stuff with the mutagen craft. Like, and what's cool is some of them.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
You'll be right back.
Yeah, no, I just smell something weird, but it's no problem.
Well, while Jordan deals with the smell,
Hmm.
uh, much like
That might just be
your
outside. I hope it's just from outside because it smells like something burning.
fingers crossed. Uh, I will keep an eye on the screen to make sure I don't see smoke behind you.
Yep.
Much like Eldritch Invocations, there are certain ones of these mutagens you can only use at certain levels. So you got to think about when you're going to take them, and you got to think about you know what level you'll be able to get them at. Some of them are just really really simple, but you also have to notice they all have side effects.
Yes.
They all do something good, and they all do something bad, and I love that.
Yeah, there's a thing that they did away with in 5th edition, and that was things having drawbacks.
Yes.
And I get it. I get why, because the more like player and new friendly player option is to drop the negatives and just have positives.
Yeah.
But they make things interesting.
They really do. And
Like we talked about when we had our when we did our episodes earlier on with like just creating a character in general.
yeah.
And if you're if you watching remember, we talked a lot about giving your characters flaws because it makes them more interesting.
It does.
And that's really what it does for these mutagens, mutations.
Yeah, and you really have to think about what you're going to use them on. Because when you use one, it lasts until you take a short or long rest.
Mm-hmm.
So you're stuck with it for most of an adventuring day. And
Yeah.
again, all of the upsides to them are good. Like none of them have a bad upside, but all of them give you some sort of downside.
Some of those downsides are real bad.
Yeah, you could have anything from, the cruelty, which you have to be 11th level to use, that lets you make an additional weapon attack as a bonus action when you use the attack action. That's pretty good. Except the side effect, you have disadvantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws.
Yeah, like that's 3. That's huge.
That's massive. But again, you're getting this extra attack for free. So it's a trade-off where you got to decide, okay, how much do I care about being hit by this magic? To you can go down and look at Vermilion, which you can use right away once you get this this
You
ability.
sure can.
And you get an additional use of your blood maledict, which is great. Side effect, you have disadvantage on death saving throws.
Yeah, which that's huge.
I mean, better hope you stay on your feet.
Yeah, better hope you don't make your cleric mad.
Yeah. So these are interesting. But if you like to gamble as a player,
Hmm.
Order of the Mutant is a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. My personal favorite of the mutations
Yeah.
are the three different ones that give you either that give you resistance to either slashing, piercing, or bludgeoning,
Oh,
because
the
it
rock paper
gives you
scissors.
yeah, because it gives you vulnerability to a different one,
Yeah.
and that just hits my like this blood hunter's intelligent and planning for their fight they're going into,
Yeah.
and just like, all right, I know this thing has claws, so I probably don't need bludgeoning resistance.
Yep. Yep. You're a Pokemon.
Yeah, at that point.
Yep. It's super effective. Like that's 100% what's going on here. Um, there's, we're going a bit out of order here. There is
Hmm.
one of the orders for the Blood Hunter that I actually don't totally love.
Okay.
It's the Order of the Profane Soul.
Yeah,
The
yeah, it's a subclass that is almost made to be multi-classed with.
Yeah, and honestly, when I look over it, to me it just really feels like somebody's like, well, I started playing a Blood Hunter and I realized that I actually wanted to play a Warlock, so like, yeah,
It's thematically a cool idea,
yeah, but
but in practice,
yeah, it's
eh.
to me it's all right. It's just when I look at all the moving pieces of it, I feel like it's a both a watered down Blood Hunter and a watered down Warlock. And
And
I
it
say to my
is.
yeah, and I say to myself, would I rather play a full Blood Hunter or would I rather play a full Warlock? And really, there's I think there's a decision to be made. It feels like a multi-class to me. So yeah, I don't love it.
Sorry, I
To
just can't fight trying to figure out what smells like a campfire near me.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
But I'm like 90% sure it's coming in from outside. So,
Which is infuriating sometimes. You're like, I can smell it. I know it's not in here. Well, I'm sure I know it's not in here, but I don't know. No.
yeah. Anyway, the order of the profane soul.
The order of the profane soul is when you smell a campfire coming in through your window.
I took a mutagen earlier, and the
Uh,
downside is it just everything smells like there's something on
there's a
fire.
campfire. Yep, that's how it is. Um, yeah. I don't know that someone's really gonna hate playing um a a profane soul blood hunter. I
But
think
you're
that's a
really like stat wise, you're spreading yourself really thin when you plan to do it,
I think so.
as well as there isn't much reason to do a profane soul that isn't a hexblade.
Yeah, and also here's the thing, like we talked about, it really lends itself to like, well, I want to make sure I can multi-class to warlock. I'm like, okay, my friend, you need to have either a good strength or dex to be a blood hunter. So that's one
Mm-hmm.
stat. You need to have a decent intelligence because a lot of your stuff runs off of that. That's two stats. You got to have a decent constitution because you're going to be using those blood maledicts. That's three stats. And now you want to multi-class into warlock. So you have to have at least a 13 charisma. That is four stats now we're up to
Yeah,
that
like
can't.
unless you're rolling for stats, or you just are gonna dump wisdom in point buy.
Yeah.
You're spreading yourself real thin.
Yeah. I don't love it. It's like the way
Yeah.
you could do it, you could dump strength or you could dump either strength or dex, whichever you're not
Mm-hmm.
using, dump wisdom altogether, and then make sure you had enough points left over to get to that 13 charisma. But to me, I'm going
That means your
that
con's gonna be low probably.
yeah, that character's spread too thin for me. I I,
Yeah.
I don't I don't love the build. Again, I see where it can work, but in that case, if you're like, oh, I want this profane soul so bad, I'm like, you're probably looking at the hexblade. Just play a damn hexblade.
Yeah.
I think you'll have a better time because you don't get eldritch invocations.
and that's 90% of the fun of being a warlock.
The invocations are so good.
And
So
like
yeah,
this, yeah, you get the blood maledicts, which is
yeah.
cool, but the blood maledicts are not better than warlock invocations.
No, they're different, but I wouldn't say they're better. And you're not getting to mix them, which would be great if you could, but you're not.
Hmm.
I know it's a little, get off my lawn of me to be like, no, this is wrong, and I don't like it. But this is our show, which means we get to have whatever opinions we want and
Yeah,
lay them down as law. So
but
if you,
like that one,
yeah,
it's just an interesting choice. Like when I'm DMing, I usually like to have people roll for stats,
sure,
so that sometimes you'll end up with someone that's a little bit stat overpowered, but that's just when I, as a DM, throw magic items to other people more
sure,
often. Uh, and so like for that, Order of the Profane Soul could work.
yeah,
Uh,
you
but
gotta have the
it's
stats to back it
not
up, though.
it is not set up for success.
No, it's not. So yeah, I don't love it. Um, I want to go from what I don't love into what I do love, though.
Is it Order of the Lycan?
Oh my God, does it? Are you kidding me?
Because who
Are
doesn't want to be a werewolf?
you a werewolf? You are a werewolf.
Who doesn't want to be a werewolf,
I
man?
mean, oh, you get heightened senses. You get your hybrid transformation, and what's great is when you transform, you get some cool ass features.
You really
Oh,
do.
more damage, resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, as long as they're not made of silver, which, man, I love that little touch.
Yeah.
I
And
love
there's a lot of those through different abilities in the Bloodhunter class, which I really like, and I miss them from older editions.
yeah. And
Like one of the main things with the blood maledicts is that it specifically says it doesn't work on creatures that don't have blood.
yes, a nice little touch because it's blood magic.
Yeah.
Love it. And also that resilient hide where you get the resistance as long as it's not silver. One other little thing I love when you're not wearing heavy armor, you get another +1 bonus to your AC,
Hmm.
which it makes you not feel so bad about having medium armor.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. I get that extra +1 bonus. Rad. Or heck, you could be using studded leather, have a high dex, and get that extra +1. Uh, it's okay.
Yep.
Now, you get your predatory strikes, where you get to apply your Crimson Right feature to your unarmed strikes as a single
Which
weapon.
that's already cool.
Yeah, and you can use your dex instead. So if you're like, well, I don't want to be a big beefy werewolf. Now, again, if you don't want to be a big beefy werewolf, I don't understand you because I like my
Because you
werewolf.
want to be a lean, fast werewolf, dude.
Whatever. Give
Gotta
me the
go
werewolf,
fast.
yeah, that tears trees in half. But
Gotta go fast.
oh, I love it.
Oh, but
The
let's talk about in my opinion, most interesting part.
bloodlust,
Yes,
yeah,
it's just so great, cause like if you decide to not transform until you are hurt, there is something specifically for that.
yes, there
And
is.
so
We're
it's if you
almost
are below half your max hit points, you have to make a fairly easy wisdom save.
DC 8.
Yeah. Or else whatever's just nearest to you, you run and try to hit it cuz
Yeah,
you're hungry.
and what I love is if there's more than one target, you roll randomly to determine the target.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah. There's
you might start eating your allies.
yep, just maybe you might
It is so good.
cuz you're just hungry and in pain. I just love that bloodlust is just the hangry ability.
Yeah, it's it's just cool, and it gives you that werewolf feel too.
It really does.
Um, all the abilities here are great. Level 7, Stalker's Prowess. Speed increases by 10. You can jump further. Your predatory
Gotta
strikes
go
now.
fast.
Yeah, you get an additional +1 to your attack rolls, which decreases to +2 at level 11 and +3 at level 18.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if you have an active Crimson Right, your unarmed strikes are now considered magical because you're a werewolf.
Yep, because you're a goddamned werewolf.
Yeah. Um,
And like
it's
and higher
it's good.
levels you get that werewolf regeneration,
Yep.
which is wild.
Yeah.
Just
It's just like
because regeneration happens so little in 5th edition.
yes. Yeah.
And
It's very
so
uncommon.
to have a little something something that brings that back, it makes sense for a werewolf. And you just get to be the werewolfiest werewolf.
Yeah, like as long as you don't go above half your HP, and it's before you roll for bloodlust
Mm-hmm.
to heal a bit. Um, Level 15, you get advantage on your wisdom saves to maintain control of your bloodlust.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at that point, you better be able to make those saves.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's an 8. So I get that sometimes people roll ones,
but it's an 8. You should be
but
all
it's an
right.
8. You should be
Yeah,
fine.
I will also say, at this point, you're level 15. You best have put one of your ASIs into wisdom or taken resilient wisdom to have proficiency in wisdom saving throws.
I mean,
Like,
or on the flip side, just embrace that sometimes you might roll a 1 and
yeah,
see what happens.
yeah. Tell your allies, don't get too close to me.
Yep. You won't like me when I'm angry.
Yeah, yeah. And when you hit level 18, you can just be a werewolf all the time if you want.
Mm-hmm.
No problem.
One thing that's really satisfying about the Order of the Lycan is that, and we've talked about this talking about other subclasses, is that the Order of the Lycan, everything in the subclass supports every other ability that this class
Yeah,
has.
it feels all encompassing. Like you're a damn werewolf.
And it just feels complete. There's no offhand ability that's like, oh yeah, and also you can do this. It's
Yeah,
no, everything is just you're a werewolf. Here are all these werewolf things that you can do because you're a werewolf.
yeah. It's not like oh you learn how to cast minor illusion.
Why?
Wow. And there are some classes that have crap like that where I go,
Mm-hmm.
why is this here? I'll never use it. Everything under Order of the Lycan is like you start being a werewolf, and it's just like, hey, you're now a more badass werewolf. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
look, you're an even more badass werewolf.
Oh look, your claws are magic now
Yeah.
because you're a werewolf.
Yep. Yep. It's easier to keep you from eating your own allies. You might do it anyway, but
And that brings us to the Order of the Ghost Slayer,
yeah.
which is probably the more classic of blood hunters for like comparing it to past iterations
I would
of
say so,
blood
yes.
hunters and blood mages, because as well as it goes better into like the lore of blood hunters,
Yeah.
because a lot of the lore of blood hunters is like, I joined the secret order, we use a bit of the evil to fight the evil.
I mean, let's call it what it is. You're Simon Belmont.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
this is the Castlevania class.
that 100%.
It is straight up Simon Belmont, or Van Helsing, whatever you want to,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want to be. This is this is it. Like
Yeah.
it says Ghost Slayer, but don't think of like ghosts like specters. This is about the unholy. It is
Yeah.
about the undead. Like that
Yeah.
is a huge part of it because remember how earlier it said for your blood maledicts they had to have blood. Not for Order of the Ghost Slayer, they
Mm-hmm.
don't.
As well as Order of the Ghost Slayer, all of your blood right damage, your blood maledict damage, is all radiant damage now. You know
Yes.
what gets really hurt by radiant damage?
The undead, baby.
Dead stuff.
Yeah. And you have resistance to necrotic damage. Like,
Mm-hmm. Also,
I mean,
just getting a resistance at level 3 bruh.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, like I love this one. It's like I said, it's Castlevania. It's Van Helsing.
Hmm.
It's that vampire hunter. It's it's that wizened hunter who has seen some shit. Who, when they're preparing all their stuff, and the other allies are like, "Why do you have those things?" Just goes, "You'll see."
Hmm.
Like this is if you don't want to be a paladin because you think, well, it's a little too many rules and a little too hoity-toity for me,
Hmm.
I would turn you to the Order of the Ghost Slayer
Oh, truth.
and say, all right, because there is a certain order to this. However, you're still a damn blood hunter. You are using blood magic to kill things that are worse than you are.
Yep. Which it would be fun at some point in a campaign, like if you had like any of the other kinds of blood hunters as one of the members of your party,
Yeah.
to then send a few Order of the Ghost Slayer blood blood hunters after them.
Oh, yeah. Well, and honestly, as a DM, I think blood hunters make really good NPCs and really good
Absolutely.
antagonists. You could have a group of religious zealots as Order of the Ghost Slayer. Um,
Hmm. Well, and
or
you could also have that weird you could easily use any of the blood hunters to set up a like we are also hunting the evil like
yeah,
you are, but we don't like you.
exactly. It's like we're hunting it also, but we'll be the ones to kill it because we have
Right.
plans for its body.
Yep.
Like it'd be a great group. You could have them meet up with your players. Maybe they work together for a bit, and then the blood hunters eventually betray them.
Yeah. There's only one thing in the Order of the Ghost Slayer that I'm not a huge fan of,
That
and that's particularly its when you hit level 11, the level 11 ability is tied specifically to one of those chosen
sure,
blood maledicts, and that's one of those things that like eh I'm not big on that. It's not a huge bummer for me,
right?
but it's one of those things that just hits me like, oh, but it could have not been that.
Yeah, you're like, what if I didn't want to take that?
Yeah. And like it's brand of castigation, so you're probably gonna take it
You're probably going
because
to take
it's one of the more useful ones.
it,
But at
right?
the same time, if you had like a story reason that you didn't want to take it,
Yeah, it gives you an entirely useless level ability that is not that's not ideal.
yeah, and like that one's at level 11, which is in that level drought that we've talked about,
Yeah, like
and
it.
and so it just doubles up on the like, ooh, this level up could be not fun for you,
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You are not wrong at all. So yeah,
and
it's
that's yeah, that's really the only thing that just that hits me like not great about Ghost Slayer. Other than that, I think it's wonderful. All the different abilities stay definitely on brand.
yeah, they really do. I love that at level 15 you gain a blood curse that doesn't count against your blood curses known.
Yeah,
Uh, Again, it's fairly high level, but those little extra things are always nice.
and being able to do more of what your class does
Yeah,
is always a thing that subclasses should give.
exactly. Like they need to get more things and they need to enhance themselves.
And
Um,
and those are good, just good things to look for in any subclass when you're making your choices. Are is what is what is on brand for my character,
right.
and what is gonna make those things better.
Yeah. I think for anybody playing a blood hunter or thinking about it, I think Order of the Profane Soul outside of specific individuals, I don't think it's designed for a good time. Uh,
No.
you know, I mean, hey, maybe if you're, if you're listening to this, if you're not me, you're like, no, no, I know exactly how I can make it work, and again, more power to you. The other three, I can see very easily of which you would want to choose. Like if you're like, oh man, I would want to play a character like Geralt, where I create these mutagens to enhance myself before I go into combat.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. And
That's mutant.
yeah, you're gonna have a great time with that. If the idea of being that, Van Helsing, Simon Belmont, I know a lot of people like to look at those as a ranger. I'm like, that's a Ghost Slayer
And I mean,
Bloodhunter right there.
I mean, it's a fine ranger as well, but that's a
Yeah,
Ghost Slayer.
yeah, like it definitely could be a ranger. I love the idea of going with Bloodhunter over ranger if you're obsessive about what
Mm-hmm.
you're hunting.
Oh,
It's the point
absolutely.
you are willing to harm yourself to hunt them.
Yeah,
And
and that's
that's
really the big thing, like story wise, with a Blood
yeah.
Hunter, that can help you make your decision between Ranger and Blood Hunter,
Yep,
is just how obsessive is your character.
exactly. If you're like, well, this is my enemy, and I will hunt them down. It's like, will you spill your own blood to do it? If you're like, nah, fam, that's not
No,
me. Like, oh,
absolutely not.
you're a ranger. Whereas if you go, yeah, whatever it takes. Well, let me introduce you to the blood hunter
Mm-hmm.
because this may be your friend, and then maybe you go, I want to be a werewolf.
I want to be a werewolf.
I have good
You
news for you.
is.
Great news. Yes, have that.
Just, I want to be a werewolf. You is.
Yeah, you is. You werewolf now. You
And
werewolf now.
it is kind of unfortunate that the Order of the Lycan is right now the best way to be a werewolf in 5th edition,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
like there is like the shifter race, which can be there, uh and there's also like technically there's the stat blocks out for if you get bit and then transform, but really they're not usable
No,
currently.
they're nothing to write home about.
Yeah. And it would be nice to have more of that fleshed out. Maybe, I mean, if it does come out in the next book, which thematically it would make sense,
I would
uh,
love it.
that they're keeping it under their hat way better than
Yeah,
I think they would. Um,
same.
but who knows? It'll be May when that happens.
It's gonna be May.
Too soon.
That happened.
It's
That
too early for that joke.
just happened. Just happened. You're welcome.
We're barely a week into April.
I know, but these are the things we do. These are the things we
That's
do.
fair enough. Yeah,
Uh,
but
I will say there is one other thing too where I wish there was a little bit more with the Blood Hunter, and this is only because I become so spoiled with the fighter. Is whenever I see fighting styles, I look at the ones there. I don't know. I wish there was something a little more or something unique to it. Like
yeah.
the fighting styles there just exist. Like I love that the paladin has the protection fighting
Mm-hmm.
style. I would love to see like an aggression fighting style
Right.
where you can basically give yourself maybe a modified version of the barbarian's reckless attack.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Which, I mean, you do get that. You can get that with Order of the Lycan.
right,
And I do like in Order of the Lycan, it specifically talks about like, hey, if you're barbarian raging, that gets in the way of you trying to keep yourself from going into that hunger rage.
yeah, you auto fail. You auto.
Which I'm just like, yeah, that tracks. But
That makes sense.
also, who is playing that terrifying multi-class?
Oh man, that'd be an interesting one.
Because that is a terrifying multi-class in my brain.
That also means you didn't dump intelligence as a barbarian. You have at least a 13 intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Which,
That is a very foreign concept.
which speaking of multi-classes, we should talk about what we're doing for next week's episode.
Yes. So
Uh,
we're going to talk about some of our favorite multi-class builds.
yeah, and that's going to be fun because you've heard us talk about multi-classes as we've gone through all of these different
Yeah.
main classes and technically unofficial classes.
Yep. Yep.
But multi-classing is a thing that was much more prevalent in 3.5
Yeah.
In second edition, it's in Pathfinder, it's in most other systems.
Well, and it's
And
considered an optional rule for fifth edition. Also, it
mhm.
is not an official rule. So you may run into a DM that does not allow multi-classing. So always
And
speak to your DM before you build a character. If they don't allow multi-classing, I don't personally agree with them, as I think the story should dictate if you're going to multi-class.
absolutely.
That's kind of my one disclaimer before next week. There are some very powerful and very efficient multi-class builds. I'm I'm opposed to starting a character planning to multi-class
Yeah. I
unless
mean,
there's a really good reason at low level. But otherwise, let the story
yeah.
tell it.
And in general, we the multi-class things that we will say next week, they are most likely not going to be like, we're not min-maxers.
Yeah,
We hate it.
like
We're about the
yeah,
story.
like
Uh
I will optimize my characters to a point. Like when I build a barbarian, I'm gonna have at least a 16 in strength and con to start. There's
yeah,
no question, because I don't want to suck at what I'm supposed to be good at. But I am not going to go down and make sure I have the best skill everywhere, and make sure I pick a background that gives me the skills I would want, and finagle this reason why the background works. Nah, fam. Like
yeah. No.
I want to have fun. My barbarian had proficiency in performance because his background was gladiator,
Mhm.
because that's who he was. So yeah, you're not going to see warlock paladin. Like, we're not going to talk about that.
No.
Is it
I
is it
mean,
super powerful? Is it super good? Yep.
absolutely.
But everyone's covered it, so we're not going to
Mhm.
talk about that one.
It's a very common one.
Yeah.
Like the Rogue Ranger. I'm gonna talk about it for a second because I love Rangers, and there's one very specific Rogue Ranger combo that I have in mind that I want to talk about. But
Sure.
other than that, like, yeah, Rogue Ranger is made to be multi-class together.
Yeah. It's like cool. Yes, you multi-classed Hexblade and Oath of Vengeance. Good for you.
Yep, what a surprise.
Yeah.
Uh,
I have seen a player do that where it worked for the story when we ran Curse of Strahd. Your guy's
mm-hmm.
paladin, who was an
Yep,
Oath of Vengeance paladin, did take a level of Hexblade because of a sentient weapon that had bonded with them, where it just kind of made sense. And I went, yeah, I'll
yeah.
allow it. But everyone's covered that one.
But again, it was for the story, and
Yeah.
so our multi-class our multi-class ideas and things that we're gonna throw out next week, they are going to be because these combos make a cool story.
Yes, like there'll be some I mentioned where I'll say, "Oh, in our campaign when this happened, I thought this person may have multi-classed into this," because there are a couple things that came up where I saw potential for multi-class,
Mm-hmm.
and there's one person who I straight up talked out of multi-classing because I said, "I think your class is best kept all the way to level 20, Druid."
Mm-hmm.
Like, Druid is one of those classes where I go, could you multi-class? Sure. Do
Sure.
you have any reason to? Absolutely
No.
not. No. Why bother? You're a Circle of the Moon Druid. You are arguably the best, just straight up class and subclass in the game for versatility, power, and survivability.
Yep.
I,
Seriously, Circle of the Moon Druid. It's just good.
they're awesome. They're awesome. I don't care what kind of character you want to be. If you're like, well, I want to be, the center of combat, kicking ass. Great.
Circle of the Moon Druid.
You're like, well, I want to be this really powerful spellcaster. Great.
Circle of the Moon Druid.
Yeah, like there's nothing you can't be good at.
Yeah, it's really like the only things that you might be bad at as a Circle of the Moon Druid are like history,
Yeah, like
maybe,
you probably didn't pump your intelligence, or maybe you did. I don't know.
or maybe you did. I don't know your life.
Yeah, because you got your amazing wild shape. You don't care what half your damn stats are. You care more about your mental stats. Like
It's
you can dump strength and dex as a Circle of the Moon Druid and not care.
you can dump con and not care.
That's a lie. That's a
That's
lie.
not. It's not a lie.
That's a lie.
You're just afraid of con being low.
This is not a dump stat.
It is a dump stat. You don't need your con for that class.
Yes, you do. You're gonna have to make concentration checks at some point.
Take Warcaster.
Yeah, take Warcaster and have the Constitution.
You don't
It's
need it.
not a dump stat.
It's absolutely a dumb stat. Anyway, we're at time because we're just gonna go back and forth about that forever and a day.
And he's wrong.
No, I'm not. I'm really not. No. Join us next week for multi-class stuff. Stop getting me off track by saying things that annoy me.
Yes, I gotta stop getting you off. You're right.
You don't. We're trying to get people to sponsor us, Bjorn.
You're right. You're right. Come back. It'll be bizarre.
Yeah.
Because I can guarantee we're not going to talk to each other about what we're going to bring up beforehand.
Oh, absolutely not. I want to surprise you with these things.
Yeah, ditto.
But we're gonna talk about multi-classes and just weird ones and multi-classing in general more than we have actually talked about. Just like this would be a great multi-class. The Nine Hells is multi-classing.
Yeah, talk about
we'll get into that
and all that. Look at our social medias. We actually posted stuff on them today.
Yeah, I posted a thing in the Instagram today.
I posted a thing on the Twitter today.
Look at us doing things.
That's right. We'll try and do that more.
And keep watch for the 17th. As far as we know right now, we're planning for a start time of 5 p.m.
Yep.
That might fluctuate depending on people, but probably not. But yeah, the 17th, at most likely 5 p.m., will be this one shot that we've been teasing about for a while.
Yeah, it'll be approximately 2 hours, and we'll have a little break in the middle.
Okay, I'll make sure to have a song for the break.
Awesome. So yeah, come back next week, talk about multi-classes, and Jordan's going to have all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh, it's going to be freaking weird. Yeah. It's going to be freaking weird. Bjorn, what do we always say?
Do something nice for yourself this weekend.